So this is who I met at London Film and Comic Con 2022. Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to my video about London Film and Comic Con 2022. It's a glorious day, so I'm filming this outside. I hope the sound's alright. I've got my big furry caterpillar on my microphone, so I hope it's A, blocking out any wind, and B, picking up my voice okay. You're probably hearing a lot of bird song. I slightly apologise for that, but only slightly, because that's part of the joys of nature. I hope if it is loud, it's not loud enough to spoil this. If it's too bad, I'll just re-record this whole thing inside. And I've just picked up a scab on my arm and it's bleeding, so if you notice any blood on my arm, don't panic, it's nothing major. Okay, yes, so I'm recording this Sunday the 10th of July. Yesterday I went to London Film and Comic Con at Olympia in London. I had decided previously I was retiring from Comic Cons. I was dragged out of retirement for the spring one because Jodie Whittaker was going to be there. Look back on the Martin Meets playlist for my tales of that day. Hadn't really intended going to the main summer con. However, one of the guests I wanted to meet at the spring one cancelled, and they transferred my photo shoot ticket to summer one, so I had to come to the summer one basically to get my photo shoot. So that made me decide I was coming, so I booked 2 days off work, knowing I'd only go on one day because I'm too old to do more than one day now with the commuting backwards and forwards. Booked a number of photo shoots and was ready to go, and then in the ensuing weeks quite a lot of the people who I booked cancelled for one reason or another. So I think originally I had 8 or 9 photo shoots booked. I did 4 in the end. There was 7 people by the time the event actually came around. There were 7 people I definitely wanted to meet for autographs. I had a couple of maybes, but decided against them, one of which was Andy Serkis. He's an actor I admire a lot, but I'm not a huge fan of him. I would have liked to get his autograph, but he was just too expensive to justify. Sorry, Willow's now creeping around. It was just too expensive to justify me getting his autograph. And the other one was Mickey DeLenz from the Monkees. I did consider picking up a Monkees album and getting him to sign it. I decided against it largely because at the end of the day it would never be completed. You come to say hello. Willow's come to say hello. Right back. I'd never get it completed. It is the only one left standing now, so it wasn't really worth doing. From what I hear, he was a very nice man. He had interesting pricing, a bit like the sports guests do. He had a higher price for, in his case, musical instruments, if you wanted to get a musical instruments signed or something musical, so drumsticks, I think, scratch plates from guitars, that sort of stuff. Basically the sort of stuff that tends to be sold by dealers with a higher price. The other thing that was interesting is that it would cost an extra, I think it was an extra £20 if you wanted him to add a Monkees song title to his autograph. Which wouldn't have been something I would ever have considered getting him to do anyway. And you could have a maximum of 2 song titles added, £20 each. But yeah, as I say, not something I would ever have considered getting him to do. But there you go. So I decided against them. Okay, so we've now got a Spitfire going over, I think it is. Is it Spitfire? Or it might just be the helicopter. We've got an airport local, and trying to see. Oh no! Oh, it's a biplane. That's why I didn't recognise the sound. That's a new one. Don't know where that's come from. We've got a biplane going over. Let's see if I can quit. Hopefully you saw that. Oh, let's perk this up a bit. Yes, so I decided against them. So yeah, that left 7 autographs to get, 3 of which were of the bigger guests, and 4 which I knew wouldn't be an issue at all, of all £15 guests. And then, as I say, 4 photo shoots. So I got up at 4 o'clock, and after doing my ablutions, got into the car and headed towards Olympia. It was fine, no problems getting there, no hassles with the journey. The only thing it was, when I tried to book the car park a few days ago at Olympia, it was full, so I couldn't book. But having had a similar problem 2019, I think it was, I knew that what was it called? Is it West 12? I think it's West 12 shopping centre in Shepherd's Bush is only a 5 to 10 minute walk away, and it's just, pull up and you can park. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I headed for there, parked up, no problems. Walked down, still lots of major work going on at Olympia. So loads of building work, which restricted what halls they could use and restricted what entrances they could use. But found where the queue was. Basically, you had to walk all the way down to the main road from the station end, if you know the Olympia, and then sort of double back on yourself through a little gate, and there was a covered area that had a queue, and this was sort of a queue before the queue, because the doors were meant to open at 7. This was about 1:45-ish, and joined that queue, and I was initially in sort of the 3rd zigzag, but as they tightened it up, I was just before the end of the first one. So there was probably 150 to 200 people in front of me. Doors didn't open at 7. Doors opened about 7:30. And we went in and we had the security checks. Sorry, Willow again. We had the security checks, and then through, zap your ticket, stamp your hand, and then we were led upstairs to where the main queue was going to be, and joined the main queue. I was quite crafty. I was alert, and I managed to just shoot off to one of the security guys, checking my bags, on the end, who wasn't being used. So all the people were naturally going to the 2 or 3 directly in front of us. I spotted he wasn't seeing anyone, so shooted off to him, got him to check, went through, and I probably gained at least 50 places doing that, which was handy. So then we joined the queue, and then sort of every 15 to 20 minutes, as the queue behind us got longer and longer, they sort of moved the front of the queue. They sort of set up the barriers and moved us forward 100 yards or so, and this happened 4 or 5 times, so that by the approach to opening, we were actually on the main concourse, not far from where the guests started. And then at 9 o'clock, Willow's chasing a butterfly. At 9 o'clock, there was a countdown, and they let us in. As usual, no running, so we walked forward at a pace and headed to the main signing area, whilst noticing that's the Spitfire, I think. No, it's not. God knows what that is. Anyway, to the main signing area, noticing en route the people who were down the side, which included the 4 lesser guests that I needed, none of whom were on queue tickets, and went into the main signing area and tried to find the guests I needed. Found them. Of the 3 in there, only one was on virtual queue tickets, which was Katie Sackhoff. So I grabbed a ticket for her, got number 27. Double checked the others, no, definitely no queue tickets. So my next port of call was to convert my refund vouchers for the cancelled guests into autograph vouchers that I could spend on autographs. So since COVID, I do apologise for all this airplane noise, but there's another one now in the distance. But it's just nice being out here. Since COVID, what they did when the spring 2020, I think it was, con was cancelled because of COVID, rather than give people cash refunds, they gave them vouchers so that they could, because obviously they'd be losing money otherwise, which is fair enough. But now things have restarted, they've kept that policy, so you no longer get a cash refund, you just get vouchers, which can either be spent on the online shop or my online autograph shop, or alternatively can be converted on the day into autograph vouchers that you spend at the venue. If you're noticing lots of edits, it's because I keep getting distracted by things flying overhead and what have you. Some of them which I shall have left in, but I will edit some of them out, otherwise it's going to go on forever. Anyway, so yes, what I needed to do then was, if you don't use these vouchers within 2 years, then you get a cash refund, but who's waiting 2 years? But it meant that I didn't need to take any cash with me for autographs, which is quite handy, so it didn't cost me any more than I'd already spent. So you have to go to the sales desk, which is fine, and we've got a big long sales desk with about 16 people serving. However, to do anything with the refund vouchers, there was only 2 of those people sat at the end who could deal with that. So it meant a massive long queue. I was quite lucky because of where I was stood when they announced that this was where you had to queue for that. I could sort of sidle over, and I was only about 10, 12 at tops in the queue. It took 40 to 45 minutes before I got served. People in front were having problems, people had been directed into the wrong queue and were led and put in front of me only once, and that was fine. Luckily, I've had no rush. My first photo shoot wasn't for another couple of hours, so I wasn't panicking. It was just slightly annoying having to wait for all that time. But once I got up there, it was no problem. One of my vouchers was for over £200 because it included my Robbie Coltrane Diamond Pass, and he was one of the cancelled guests. And I needed £190 worth of vouchers, so they just took it off of that total, and I'll get another voucher sent for the difference eventually. Gave me the autograph vouchers, which are basically little plasticky cards with the 20, 10 or £5. Gave me them, and that was nicely done. Once I was there, I was probably served within 2 minutes. So then I poddled off, and did I straight away do that? Yeah, I think I then straight away went up to see what was the situation with the autographs. Katie Sackhoff was a Diamond Pass guest. Due to her increased popularity, she's had to cancel a lot because she's always working. So she's cancelled 2 or 3 times in the last 5 years. So the fact that she was definitely coming over made her a relatively rare guest anyway. But because she's now in The Mandalorian, her obviously demand has gone up because the Star Wars collectors want her. It's not just Battlestar and various things like that. So she was a Diamond Pass guest. I decided against getting the Diamond Pass. I met her coming up for 10 years ago probably. At that time I hadn't seen Battlestar, but I wanted to meet her because I loved the remake of Bionic Woman starring Michelle Ryan, and Katie was in that. So I met her for that, got a photo signed then, but she was no post photos and I didn't have a photo shoot with her. So I took a lovely photo of her. She was happy to let me take a photo of her, but there was no photos with. So I decided when she was announced I wanted a professional photo shoot with her, but the autograph wasn't completely necessary because I had that one. I also bought a couple of charity ones from her website, so I've got her autograph a few times. But I would quite like, having now watched Battlestar Galactica, I would have quite liked her on a Battlestar photo. So I decided rather than pay, it was £75 for a photo, £85 for her autograph, and I think her diamond pass was about £195, £200. So rather than pay the premium to guarantee meeting her and get a crappy gift, I thought I'd risk it, and if she's too busy and I can't get her autograph, then so be it. So because she was a Diamond Pass guest, I was expecting them to still be calling the Diamond Passes when I went up there. And as I said, I had ticket number 27. Went up there, they were calling 1 to 50 straight away. Well, within the 45 minutes or so that I'd been there, whilst I'd been in the queue. She was racing through the signings, however, she wasn't. It was more the people around her were trying to rush people through. So there was somebody being served, a person, two people sort of stood immediately behind them waiting, and then me. Nobody behind me. And so I paid for the photo, picked the photo, which you'll see in a minute. Walked up and I stood there waiting, and the crew member sort of called me, and I was, as I say, I was 3 people back at this point, and she wanted my photo and my little slip of paper with my name on it for the personalisation. She wanted it sort of then, and they were trying to rush people through, even though there was nobody waiting. But it was fine, and got out there, and it wasn't a case like it can be sometimes where they've already signed your photo before you're stood in front of them. But passed it over. But Katie wasn't rushing. We had a little chat while she signed it. Willow going mad. We had a little chat while she signed it, primarily about her YouTube channel and how much I miss the fact that she hasn't been making videos lately, and she blamed it on her new baby. And she, maybe in 18 years' time, I'll have time to make some more. But yeah, she was lovely. She was wearing a face shield for COVID reasons, but it was it was a big plastic clear shield, so it didn't really make a difference. But yeah, she was absolutely lovely, and this is a photo she signed for me. So then whilst I was there in that main area, I figured I might as well get the other 2 bigger guests that I wanted. So I scooted along 2 or 3 people and joined a short queue for Hannah Murray. So Hannah was the guest who was meant to be at the spring one and then was transferred to this one when she cancelled. So, and I had the photo shoot transferred. I was looking forward to meeting her. I'm a big admirer of her work. Obviously Game of Thrones, but more recently, as some of you may have seen, I watched a film called Charlie Says, which stars Matt Smith as Charles Manson, and Hannah plays, no, I can't remember, but one of his disciples who was arrested and convicted and jailed for the Manson killings. And she was excellent in that, and went up to her, had a little diver over a photo, but once I decided, passed it over, said, could you make it to Martin? She said, oh, that's my dad's name. And then, I said, just want to say I thought you're absolutely fantastic in Charlie Says. She says, oh wow, not many people have seen that. Oh, thanks, and we had a little chat about the research she did for the role. Really nice, and she signed it, and I shook her hand and thanked her. Complimented her on her Buffy t-shirt she was wearing, as you will see later. But yeah, came away just a little bit in love with her. This is a photo she signed for me. And then scooted straight from her to the third of the bigger guests that I wanted to meet, and that was Claire Kramer. So Claire played Glory in Buffy, amongst other things, but that's sort of what she's best known for. So Glory was the big bad for season 5. Excellent character, excellently performed. Walked up to her just as a couple were leaving, and she said, "Can you believe that was the first autograph that those people have ever got?" And I said, "Wow, I said, that's a bit of an honour." She said, "Yeah, it is." I said, "I'd like to say the same, but I'd be lying. I've been doing these a hell of a long time." She said, "Yeah, so have I," she says. Passed the photo over, said, "Can you make it to Martin?" She said, "Oh, that's my son's middle name. I love that name." I said, "Oh, okay, is it a family name?" She said, "Well, it was my dad's middle name as well." So we had a little chat, and she was lovely. And this photo she signed for me. So by now, I still had well over an hour before my first photo shoot. So I didn't want to just then get my remaining few autographs and have nothing to do for the rest of the day, knowing that I was going to be there. My last photo shoot was at 5:05, and at this point it was just gone 10 o'clock. So, I knew I was going to be there a while. So I went down and had to scoot around the stalls, see if there was anything that tempted me. More on which later. Don't get too excited, I didn't buy anything. It's spoilers. After that, found a quiet spot. There was a nice stretch on the upper concourse. This is normally quite quiet anyway, but normally there's sort of comic book artists along one side of it, but they weren't there this time. So it was just a nice big blank empty space where you could sit, and so that was my regular chill out point through the day. So I went and sat there until it was time for my first photo shoot, which was, I've got a mad cat. She loves having company. She loves being out in the garden, but she also likes having company. So if ever we're out here doing anything, she's always running around and having fun. So I went to the first photo shoot, which was in section C, or photo shoot C, which was in the main hall where all the signers were. I don't know what had happened, but rather than have the big signs that they normally have saying photo shoot A, B, C and D, they just used white tape. About, quite large letters, but this white tape wouldn't stay stuck to the boards they were using, and it just looked really shit, basically. But anyway, went to shoot C, and it was about 5 minutes before the shoot was due to start, and I'm trying to remember now whether I could join straight away. I think they'd called gold passes for, it was Claire Kramer. They'd called gold passes, and then not long after I'd stood there, they called batch 1, which I was. So got in the queue and went through, and it was the usual photo shoot system. Big table where you leave your bag, go around, shoot, go around, pick up your bag up, wait for your photo, take your photo, bog off, basically. But it was, nothing spectacular, nothing horrible, nothing distanced. So she put her arm around me, I put her arm around her. But this is me with Claire Kramer. Then I had, so what was that? That was about 11 o'clock by now. And my next shoot was at 2:20? Yeah, 2:20 I think my next one was. So I just basically just wandered around a bit, sat down a bit, wandered around a bit, sat down a bit, and killed the next 3 hours. Had a better look at the stalls in that time. There was one stall that had some Japanese Bond theme 7-inch singles for 7 of the films. Live and Let Die, Thunderball, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, I For Your Eyes Only, I think You Only Live Twice, I think. Can't remember what the other one was. One of them was £40, the rest of them were £30, and I was really tempted to buy them all, hoping that they'd do me a little discount if I did, but I couldn't really justify spending £30–40 on a 7-inch single, much as I really wanted them, so I left them behind. Had a look at some mystery boxes, decided against them. There was one stall, it's an autograph stall, and they were doing mystery bags of movie promos, movie promo material that you would have got 2 posters as well with, I think they were £20, or they did a mystery box which also had autographs in it for £100, and I was highly tempted to get that, and I was divvying, and then when I went back to have another look, they'd sold the only one they had anyway, so I saved myself £100 then, because I think I probably would have ended up doing it. So yeah, as I say, I didn't buy anything in the end, but eventually it was time for my next photo shoot, which was with Hannah. Originally I'd got the wrong time in my head, and I went down, I was thinking, oh, there's nobody queuing, and then I double checked and I was about 40 minutes early, and it was during my lunch break, so there was no photo shoots going on. Went back down at the right time, having managed to bump into my work colleague Andy. She was wandering around while I was sat, and I called her over, and she was getting a bit distressed because she was struggling to find things out, so I sorted her out. As her manager at work, I can deal with her and sort her out. She was the one who came with me, who I met there at the spring one. So sorted her out and sent her on her way, then went down to my shoot. Massive queue. Didn't quite understand, so it was in photo shoot D, which was the only one that was downstairs, and it was set up, and it had the tape marking on the floor for the queue, but they just completely ignored that and sent everybody queuing round the other way, which took us past a big queue for one of the food areas, and it all got very confusing, but I just found the back of the queue and joined it, and it all worked out in the end. But it meant that we weren't called in batch order or anything like that. You just sort of went in depending on where you were in the queue, which again wasn't an issue for me, but it could have been for some people. But went in, and again Hannah was lovely. Not entirely sure, she might be pregnant, might just be the way her t-shirt was falling. She's always been a bit round-faced, but the way her t-shirt fell looked like it might have been covering a bump. It might not have been, but she looked lovely anyway. And she was just as nice for the shoot, and this is me and her. So then I had, how long did I have? About an hour and a half for my next shoot. I decided I was going to get the missing 4 autographs at this point. Went up, and Granddale Bush was there, so I got him. So Grand plays D.A. Hawkins, I want to say. It's written on the autograph you're going to see in a minute. In Licence to Kill, which is my reason for wanting him. He's also one of the cops in Lethal Weapon. He is one of the Johnsons in Die Hard. He's the Black Johnson, Robert Darby's White Johnson. And he's been in lots, he was one of those go-to guys in action movies in the late 80s, early 90s. Wasn't sure what to expect from him, but he was lovely. I'm guessing he's Jamaican, or certainly from the Caribbean, by his accent and the way he spoke, and he had that typical laid-back, I'll Google that and put it on the screen, but he had that typical laid-back West Indies vibe to him, but really warm and caring, and he was taking his time over your autograph, what he wanted to write and where he was going to write it, and he checked what colour I wanted it in, which I was quite pleased about, because he didn't with the guy in front of me. and he used a gold pen on you'll see in a minute, but it was a similar shot to the one that I got, except it was a dual shot from the same scene with him and Tim Dalton. So the background was fairly similar. It's sort of foliage. And he used a gold pen on it, and I didn't think it stood out very well. So I was pleased when he gave me the option of what I'd... Okay, apologies, I was waffling on too long and my phone ran out of storage. So yes, I was glad he gave me the option, and I picked a blue pen, which I think looks good against the image. So this is the photo he signed for me. And then he saw I had my phone in my hand because I'd seen he was doing photos, and asked a crew member if she'd take a photo for me, which was fine. And he invited me round to his side of the desk, and he said, "Oh, should we hold up the photos?" So we did. And the crew member, well, as I found out, actually took 3 photos, which was good of her. That's joy with camera phones, you can just do it. And I think the third one was probably the best, so that's the one that you will see in a second. But then he insisted that we check it and that it had taken well before we go. And yeah, really nice man, lovely to have met him. This is me and him. So all I had left were the 3 girls who were in the film Hostel, and they were all on their break. So I went and sat down for another while, and then trying to remember what order I did it. Yeah, I went after half an hour or so. I wandered back and they were back. So Jennifer Lim wasn't seeing anybody at that time. She was actually sat next to Granddale Bush, so I went up to her first. So she was announced after the other 2. So I'd booked a dual photo shoot with the other 2. They did subsequently announce a triple shoot with Jennifer as well, but obviously I didn't want to double dip. So I was hoping that she was doing table photos, and she was. But she was lovely. We had a little chat about the film and about her, particularly about her final scenes in the film. But yeah, she was very nice. I was dithering about what to get signed, and I decided, well, I took with me just in case, and then decided on the DVD insert. It was a nice canvas for autographs, so I've decided on that. So I will show that at the end of talking about these 3 people, because obviously they've all signed it. But she's the top one on it, as you will see. But she signed that for me, and then she was doing table photos, so she got up and came around the table and stood next to me, and it was the same crew member who took the Granddale Bush one. So she took 3 again, and this is probably the best one of those. And then I scooted round the corner to where the other 2 Hostel girls were. So it's Barbara Nadalikova, who I have met before, and then Yana Kadarabkova, possibly. But they're sort of the 2 main girls in the film Hostel. If you've seen it, you'll know who they are. So it was mainly because I'd met Barbara before that I was dithering over whether to get 10x8s signed or, as I say, what I eventually chose. And having a 10x8 signed by Barbara. But they had one crew member dealing with a pair of them, so I paid for them both at the same time. And it was basically whichever one was free first was who you went to first. There was a couple of other guys there, and they were both fairly chatty. But Yana was up first, so I handed my booklet over for her to sign. And we had a lovely little chat about the film and about how it's nice being back doing the cons again. And she signed it, and then when I finished with her, went over and waited for Barbara, who was having a chat with someone, and then there was a couple of guys in front of me, but got up to her. Didn't have a massive chat with Barbara, to be honest, but a nice little chat. It was pleasant enough, and she signed it. So yeah, this is what they signed. So as I say, Jennifer's at the top, then bottom left is Barbara, and bottom right is Jana. By now, I only had about 20 minutes or so before my next photo shoot, which was Katie Sackhoff. So she was in photo shoot area A, and it was manic round there. So A and B were sort of opposite each other on the main thoroughfare through to the signing area. It was where we'd been queued at the start of the day. And I'm guessing it's where the Stranger Things guests had their signing, because the area in between them was just littered with teenage girls mainly, or late teenage, possibly early 20s, in Stranger Things related t-shirts and what have you, just lying around doing nothing, blocking the area, which was quite annoying, to be honest, because it made getting to a photo shoot quite difficult. And then it didn't help that the lady organising the queue had quite a quiet voice, and she did things a bit strange. Diamond Pass were already queued up when I got there. I could, could see by the amount of people there, but oh, that must be the Diamonds. But then Gold Pass people go next, but she was calling those by batch as well. So what she was calling was Gold Pass Batch 1, then Gold Pass Batch 2, and if you didn't listen carefully, you could think she was just calling Gold Pass and Batch 1, so which I was Batch 1. So I nearly went forward, and then I realised what she'd actually said. But eventually, anyway, she called Batch 1, and I joined the queue and went through, and again, typical photo shoot procedure, but Katie was lovely. Again, even the shield was nowhere to be seen, and she straight away put her arm around you, and she even rubbed my back as she said goodbye, and I thanked her, not for rubbing my back, but thanking her for the shoot, and she said no thank you, and yeah, really pleased with the shoot with her, and this is it. And then I had about, what was it now, about an hour probably before my final shoot. So I had a last scoot round, which is when I discovered this £100 box had been sold. A final decision not to buy the 7-inch singles or any fudge. Final scoot round just in case I'd missed anything. I was hoping, there's some Doctor Who trading cards that have recently come out. And in each case of theirs, there's guaranteed 4 autographs, and there's some really good signers on there, including Jodie, and they're all from the last couple of series, but a lot of the big guest stars, and there's special cards where they've added quotes and all sorts, and they look good. And I know somebody bought some there on Friday, so I was looking around all the stalls hoping to find some of those, and I was going to buy a box of those, but couldn't find any. So yeah, just killed a bit of time, and then come 5 o'clock headed up for my final shoot. So they had a solo shoot with Barbara, then the duo shoot with Barbara and Jana, then Jana on her own, then the triple shoot with Barbara, Jana and Jennifer, and then Jennifer on their own. And so they queued us. So Barbara on her own, there was about 7 people, I think. The duo shoot, which was the most popular one, because obviously where it had gone on sale first, there was probably about 30 of us there, all men, and about 4 people for the Jana solo shoot, and maybe a dozen for the triple shoot. At that point, I didn't look when I came out to see whether that had grown by then. So the few went in for Barbara's shoot, then we just reset things up for the duo shoot, and in we went, and it was exactly what I'd hoped it would be. Them one either side, arms round. Yeah, lovely. Thanked them both as I left. Happy with the photo, and this is it. And then that was it. So it was about 5:15 now. So that was it. I'd done everything I needed to do. Walked back to the car park, which I must have been tired because it took about twice as long to get back as it did to get there, and it's not like it's up or downhill. Got to the car, no problems with the car. I hadn't left lights on or anything like that. New car, switches lights off automatically. Great. Watch my spring one if that makes no sense to you. And headed home and had a stress-free journey home, no problems at all. And got home almost bang on 8 o'clock. So I'd been out, just shy of 16 hours. Chilled for a bit, but I was knackered. I was in bed just before 10 o'clock and had a good solid night's sleep. But yeah, overall enjoyed it. It's just, with all the cancellations, it did mean a lot of waiting around and a long day because of the timings of the photo shoots. Shame they weren't earlier and I could have left earlier, but never mind. But yeah, all the meetings I had, I was really pleased with, and pleased with what I got signed. I'm sorry this has been so long. I have tried to speed up this last bit, and I will try and edit out as much as I can that's not relevant or not interesting, but I still think this is going to be quite long. Winter, I don't know yet. We'll see who's announced and if I can get the time off work even. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm definitely not going. I'm not going to say I definitely am going. I'm not going to say I'm definitely never doing a con again. I'm not going to say I'm definitely am doing a con again. We'll see. But thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.